this is an explosive offense. We don't expect that to change this year, right? So it's a matter of scoring to match them because they do give up points and 22nd overall in the league in points allowed per game. And we'll see how that turns out next season. Does their defense get a little bit worse? I know they had some losses and things, so we'll see how that point differential changes in 2024. And I'll just ask the question since I'm here and talking about it. If they drop this game, Ben, then where? Because you're saying week 1 could put you at an 8. So week 2, I mean, I will say if you want to try to, if they're dropping week 1 and 2, or if you want to just say, let's say they win 1 and drop 2, what are you thinking in your mind here?
Yeah, I mean, it's early season games. Obviously, if they drop them, you never want to panic. But I think it's more not even just that if they lose the early season games. I think it's just also looking down the road at the schedule, right? The schedule, you need to win these games early. You need to get out in front in this division with a healthy Jets team or healthier Jets team. You have the Dolphins who like we said, had an explosive offense last year, added to it with Odell Beckham Jr., Jonnu Smith, right? They even added to their offense this year. Defensively, we'll see, obviously, if Jordan Poyer can help that defense elevate and see if he still has a lot left in the tank. But it's going to be a tough one if you lose this game, especially with the division. You can't just bank on, you can't bank on Aaron Rodgers getting hurt. You can't bank on the Jets being the Jets, right? I know we say it every year, the Jets are the Jets. They somehow are going to end up being a team that misses the playoffs, but they are a very good defense. The offense should be a lot better this year. So when it comes to division in this game, if you lose this game, especially early on with, a team that necessarily doesn't have the best home field advantage in the league, it might worry me a little bit. Now, I think I would probably stay around that 7-ish range when you come in with this, especially when it comes to the division. But at the end of the day, it is week 2. I'm not going to be up in arms about it, but it will be a little bit of panic to see how they do then bounce back against Jacksonville in weeks 3, 4, and 5, because then it puts the pressure on even those games a lot more down the road, with then the Chiefs later on in the year, the Lions later on in the year. So it's not so much that I would be lose confidence and kind of just panic in the sense that, oh, the Bills can't win games. It's, well, these other teams are very good that are playing this year. It's a tough schedule. Even if they do play well against some of these teams, they could still lose these games. So I think this game, you got to win this game early against the Dolphins. We've seen them drop them early against the Dolphins in the past, and it's been a dogfight to win the division back, right? And we can say, oh, the Jets are going to be the Jets, the Dolphins are going to be the Dolphins. They're somehow going to lose the division, but as we've mentioned a couple times this show, this team is a lot different for the Bills this year, whereas the Dolphins, if anything, got better on both sides of the ball this year, and the Jets as well, coming back with Aaron Rodgers. So this division is going to be a lot different this year if they can stay healthy. Obviously, it's a big if. So I'm not going to be in full panic mode if they lose even both games, but it's going to be a tough road down the line.
Yeah, before I answer that, I just want to highlight Taylor's question. What do you guys think? Over, under for Tyreek Hill? I think under, just based on, historically him with the Dolphins against the Bills.
Yeah, I'm going under as well.
Yeah, I'm going under as well. It's one of those things that, like Scott said, Bills play him well.
Yeah.
Waddle I'll go over, but Hill, I'm going to go under.
Yeah, so if the Bills win week 1 against the Cardinals and then lose this game against the Dolphins, but they look good, they play well, it's a close game, a couple things don't go their way, whatever, I'll still be pretty confident that they'll have a good season and win the division because, a short week in Miami on the road, that they're going to have a target on the Bills going into this game. So if they can get out of the first 2 games 1-1, and look good against the Dolphins, I don't really think I'll be worried at all. Obviously, in the moments, I'm sure I will be, but once I take kind of a step back, I don't think I would be super nervous. But if they can go down to Miami, set the tone that, hey, the division still runs through us, doesn't matter who we have playing receiver, you can have Jordan Poyer. We cut him anyway. Obviously, we'll miss him, but kind of show that, hey, the division still goes through Buffalo. And I think that really sets the tone for the season going forward, both momentum-wise and to the rest of the league, kind of put them on notice that, hey, like, the Bills are still here. We still have Josh Allen. We don't have Diggs. We don't have Gabe Davis, but like nothing's changed. I think that goes a long way. And then, you mentioned some other guys that they're missing. Josh Allen's special friend, Christian Wilkins, no longer there. That's a big deal. He eats up the middle of the field and plays really well against the run. So I think James Cook could potentially have another big game here against the Dolphins, especially with the strength of their D-line either being hurt or not there anymore. So I don't know if I'd necessarily panic if they lose this game, but if they lose both games and they lose to the Cardinals, then they lose to the Dolphins, I may be dusting off that panic button to hit it sooner than later.
Yeah, it will not be a good feeling to start the season 0-2 for sure. That's where I will start having, like you mentioned, a little bit panic creeping in up towards that 7 or 8 level from the 5 I would be at week 1 at most. But again, it is based upon how they lose, how they look, and even if they lost both games, but they were competitive and say there were some things like you mentioned didn't necessarily bounce their way somehow, and they lose by a field goal in both games or something like that, I'm not too worried. But we'll see. That's a tough thing to even think about, starting 0-2. But yeah, I wanted to just throw something in here that's not necessarily just kind of an impromptu question. How many interceptions does Josh Allen have after week 2 against Miami?
That's a good one. I'm gonna go with 2. I think he either throws 2 in one game, has 0, or he goes 1 and 1. I just, if it's over 2, then man, we better hope the national media they're gonna have a heyday. But yeah, I'm gonna go with just 2 straight up and average 1 a game.
I was also thinking 2. He usually throws 1 against Miami. Miami's secondary is solid. Hopefully he doesn't throw any, which would be pretty cool. But if they're 2-0 and he has 3 picks, or even depending on how the interceptions are, like, I think I'm pretty okay with that. I'm sure the national media, like you said, will talk about the interceptions and then kind of as a footnote at the, like, little asterisks, like, by the way, the Bills are 2-0. But yeah, hopefully he can limit those. But like, that's, you live and you die with Josh Allen. For every interception he throws, he makes a throw that no other quarterback in the world can make. And I don't want him to start doubting his arm. I don't want him to not make those throws. But yeah, if he could take care of the ball in the beginning of the year this year, that would be helpful. But not at the changing of who he is. Not at risking that.
Yeah, and I think maybe getting back to who he is, as far as maybe having some games where he's running the football. Last year, they kind of took that away early on and waited till later in the season to really give him a lot of rushing attempts and opportunities. And I think this offense gives him a little more opportunity to do it early and often, and just be himself throughout. So they know they can't throw away any game, and they need to be on their best A game, and that's when Josh Allen's going to run with the football. So I'm going to say 1 interception through the first 2 weeks. He's going to throw 1 against Miami, 0 versus Arizona, and he's going to have probably 4 to 6 touchdowns in those 2 games as well. So I'm looking for a 4-to-1 type ratio coming out of week 2 with Miami, and hopefully 2-0 start for the Buffalo Bills. So, yeah, I guess that was an impromptu question that just came to my head, and I wanted to get it out there. So, give me your prediction. I guess we'll start with Ben. I think we did Scott first last game. So, for week 2 against Miami, whether it's any sort of exact score or otherwise.
Yeah, I guess I'll keep the trend going of the actual score here, but I think I'm gonna go with lower scoring game. I think with the Dolphins, even though both of these offenses, even in past seasons, have been top tier offenses, for some reason that the offenses in the games that the Bills do play them, not every time the offenses go off. So I'm gonna go with like a 24 to like 17 game, 24-20 game. I guess if I go real early, these are all my real early predictions. I'll go with 24-20. With the Bills squeaking it out there, maybe a last second touchdown, who knows? But yeah, I think it will be still a close game, but I don't think it will be a really high scoring game at all.
Vegas disagrees with you. It's essentially a pick 'em right now. Obviously, it will change based on everything that happens between now and then and week one. Over under is 51.5 at the moment. And Miami's a slight favorite at -1, but essentially a pick 'em. I kind of have a bad feeling that the Bills might lose this game. I think, taking the new offense on the road, a little not quite as easy as it is at home. Say what you will about the Dolphins crowds, but the best crowd they've had was for that Copa America game this past week. It wasn't even the Dolphins game. But, on the road is always tougher than playing at home. So I think the Dolphins win. I think it's a close game. But I think the Dolphins eke it out. But I think we get them back at our place later in the season. But I just think week 2, they're a lot more established in their identity than we are at this point. So I think they might get us here early.
Yeah, I almost expect Miami to potentially win by a touchdown here in a competitive game. Really like Sean McDermott and his defense against Miami. And that's where I think the Bills can have them. But, I don't know. It's going to remain to be seen that they can beat the Bills, because we went down to their place and they had to have the game for the division and couldn't get it done. And I think that defense we took down there was not as good as the one that's going to be week 2 for the Bills. So for me, I really, if the Dolphins win, they win by a touchdown. And this early in the season, I'll be for the reasons that you stated, and having, a young offense and maybe some mistakes cost us in week 2 on the road. I'll choose the Dolphins to win this game.